All right then. Welcome, Stephen, to the Leaders Who Cares series. I don't want you to water this down. I want you to water it up a little bit. And I guess people will know what kind of a dad joke that was after we get into this. But welcome, man.
Thank you, Mark. It's awesome to be on the show.
No, we'll have some fun too. So best way to
Yeah.
start, as I usually say, is before getting into the business stuff and everything, if you can just share a little bit about you. Where are you from originally? Where you are now?
hmm
Family?
hmm
Um, Something you've never told anybody, and you want to reveal to the world now. This is a great time to do it. Personal, the better, and
hmm
stuff. But yeah, tell us about Stephen.
Sure. I grew up in San Jose, California. Um, my dad's from Boston. My mom's from Mexico City, and I grew up there until I was 18. I moved to LA for college at Loyola Marymount University. Um, One thing growing up of interest in the environmental realm is my grandpa is a very big environmental publisher. So he published environmental books for 30 plus years, was really influential. He gave me so many books on the environment. Um, Christmas was like getting a book on the environment, how to be eco-friendly, 50 ways to save the whales and things like that.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah,
He
yeah, he's a cool guy. Uh, you know,
was like
he
a pioneer, basically.
Yeah, he published one of the first books on solar voltaics, like the precursor to the solar panel.
I can,
Um,
I guess I can tell when we get to the influencers part of this who's going to be in that list.
yeah,
Um,
he is. He
what about
is.
the rest of other family?
Yeah, we all like going on hikes. Well, I was out in nature a lot as a kid. I think that has a lot to do with my care for the environment because I honestly have so much fun in these places. I think we all do. I think it's a very internal joy that we all get from being out in nature, experiencing a cold ocean. Anybody who gets out of a cold ocean is happier than when they first, really, you know, uh, I truly believe that. And I think it's just a testament to the natural world. I think it's something very beautiful and something we should protect and do our best to help and uplift.
Yeah, no, that's a definitely needed more and more. I think Mother Nature tried to tell us that during the COVID period there, when things started looking better. In Venice, the water was clearer and the birds were out singing and all sorts of things were
Yeah.
going on. Pollution was down and stuff. What did you speak of your grandfather? What were you like as a kid, a teenager? Were you a collector of things? Were you really into nature even back then, or were you playing video games and sports and music? What were you like?
Yeah. When I was, I don't know, 8 to 12, social media really started coming out around that time. So I don't consider myself a social media kid. Like kids who are born right now, Facebook, Instagram are already very well established. But the
Right.
time I was growing up, it was like trendy and new. So I grew up in this generation where you post photos of like where you are and what you're doing and what you're up to. You can check in on your friends in this really cool, interesting way. Um, so, anyways, that's the generation I grew up in. I don't think I was very environmentally focused. I don't think I took a lot of hikes until I was about 18 and started exploring the mountains, going on actually solo camping trips in places like Topanga, Joshua Tree, Yosemite,
Not
and
bad
started,
places.
yeah, all in California and all like, just a couple of hours away and experiencing things like a sunset and a hike during the night of a full moon and
Stars.
stars. Wow, it's rare to see a bunch of stars in LA. It really is like a wild experience.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we should be definitely grateful about that. So if you move a little bit from teenager to
yeah.
um your journey, yeah, you earned your degree in entrepreneurship at Loyola Marymount, who you mentioned. What intrigued you to take that path?
So, I was designing my own major in Loyola Marymount University. So I was studying environmental science. entrepreneurship, and philosophy. And I was just, it takes me to a story where actually there was a turning point in my life where I was headed down a direction that really wasn't impactful at all. I had these big dreams of like, I love nature a lot. I love helping. I think it gives me a lot of joy selfishly, and I wanted to do it at a larger scale, but I was pretty mediocre. I was drinking, smoking pot, and actually got to the point where I was about to be kicked out of university. Um, and a mentor, Bradley Smith, one of those three mentors, he sat me down and said, like, hey, you're on a gateway to a mediocre life. And he had the decision that day to kick me out of university or not. And luckily, he saw some hope in me, hope in my future, and allowed me to see that hope for myself. That I actually turned it around that day. It's a very clear day in my journey and in my story. But I started turning it around and said, well, let me make my own major. Let me explore. I have all this opportunity that I just figured, oh, I'll just get a random degree and kind of like coast my way through class. But now I was into it. Like, what can I learn? What can I figure out? What kind of problems can I solve in this world? And honestly, I started getting more excited about it. It was very exciting. There's definitely a lot of challenges that come with changing your lifestyle, as I did,
Hmm.
but way more benefits, and I feel very purposeful about what it's led me to.
Yeah, that's interesting. I spoke to somebody who was in a similar situation not too long ago where they told her to, you can quit if you want, or you can create your own major type
Mm,
of thing. And
mm.
it was interesting. Sometimes that challenge, makes good things happen. And you picked entrepreneurship because,
I think there's four great ways to change the world: education, religion, business, uh, and politics, government. And I felt like business was the fastest one. I felt like entrepreneurship was one that you could really go quick and fast, but actually, um, as of recently, I've kind of learned a little bit about how politics and environmental policy in particular can really make a lot of very fast and quick changes as well. And obviously, like educating consumers and stuff is definitely important. And religions, they move the world in all sorts of ways. So all are very important and all are really great. I just picked business as my
well, it
way.
always gives you the good foundation that you can include the others in it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
apparent that you clearly had and you have entrepreneurship tendencies for sure. Take us a
Mhm.
little bit through your journey with maybe a highlight or two of some of the places, some of the things you did, like Crop Swap and Metavision, and then do you pronounce it Quocus NFT?
Focus. Yeah. The happy focus.
Happy
It's
Quocus, and
it's
Grace as well.
mm,
Starting with those, give us a sense of what they were like and what they were about.
yeah. So crop swap was one I pursued having left college a year early to get into entrepreneuring in a startup. It's very, very exciting for me to be like, wow, I'll actually start making the changes that I've been dreaming and thinking about. Um, we did regenerative produce boxes here in LA, um, relatively popular during the COVID era
Hmm.
when shopping wasn't as popular. I then did projects like Project Metavision. I had a crypto consultancy firm because I got into crypto and was a global speaker actually in London and New York
Wow.
um, for about a year and a half, working with folks like Magic Johnson, which was how I was entrepreneuring, but my real main loves and joys were like building things like Crop Swap, Grace, Happy Quackas, which was a mental wellness application.
Cool.
and actually designed in the Collegiate Recovery Center of Loyola Marymount University, which I was the president for 2 years after that great talk with Bradley Smith, my mentor. I said, "Hey, I got to turn it around." So,
You
and I
showed
turned it
him.
around pretty nicely.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
kidding. Well, he's probably
yeah.
proud of that.
I talk with him frequently. I wish I'd talked with him more. Um, it's 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 really important to have good mentors.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt. What tell us a little bit about how that was for you when you were speaking globally on that topic.
On cryptocurrency, yeah, it was it was quite wild. It felt like oftentimes I was the youngest person in the room at 20 years old, 21 years old, teaching people about things like blockchain and solidity and
Hmm.
uh, what is a non-fungible token, um, its application in the world, how major players like Visa, Amazon are now using blockchain and cryptocurrency in their everyday business. Um, it was awesome. I had a blast. At the same time, I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do with my whole life. Uh, it's cool, but I think actually later after crypto had its crash as well, so part of a forced retirement on the cryptocurrency career.
Yeah,
Uh,
people hear, but a lot of people making a lot of money. There's a lot of people that lost a lot of money too.
yeah,
At that point, now it's back going back up again. Tell me a little bit more about especially Wave Hansen and Kenaf and how you were, if I'm not mistaken, introduced by your grandfather.
sure. So Wave Hansen is was my first project in college. Uh, I just felt like after saying, okay, I want to make my whole life into making impact in the best way I can. It's been a project that has stayed with me and more of like where I've thought deeply for hours and days and years about what's my value system? What do I want to put into the world? What is important to do and work on? Um, and oftentimes these things have come from watching documentaries, seeing seeing what's going on in the world both with my own eyes and then on the big screen and saying things like the true cost, which is about fast fashion, and my own trips to Mexico, seeing how people live when taking the bus from Mexico City to Cholula,
Hmm.
and it's been very inspiring. So Wave Hansen, I started it and I said, wow, you know what? I want to help fast fashion, organic cotton clothing, and clean the beaches. And so I started cleaning the beaches and I gave everyone a t-shirt and it's the Wave Hansen t-shirt. And uh, by my 10th cleanup during that time, I had 100 people join me. And we had this big litter rally where it was like music and flags were waving and people were dancing and cleaning the beaches, and it felt like, whoa, this is awesome. This is like very impactful. And then COVID hit. Then I went into crop swap and continued that journey and have kept those values. And it's something that my LLCs are called Wave Hansen LLC and things like that.
Super cool. But now what about your grandfather and how he introduced you to
Yeah. So speaking of Kenaf and um, my grandfather published one of the first books on tree-free paper, mass produced tree-free paper, and it was on Kenaf. So Kenaf is a plant that's a relative to okra and cotton. Um, it grows very wildly fast in the U.S. and all over the world, and is great for using its fast fiber and core fiber. Um, Kenaf.org was my consultancy where I could help anyone find this fiber and allow them to utilize it for whatever they might do. MDF board, for example, is a really great use case for it. Paper is a little bit harder. One of the biggest Kenaf paper manufacturers, Vision Paper, ran by Tom Rimza. Uh, I think it shut down its doors about 7 years ago, 10 years ago.
Mm.
But my grandpa introduced me to that plant. I went out and learned a whole lot about it. Actually, was one of my collegiate projects that I presented as like a potential for MDF board, medium density fiberboard in our ceilings. It's in the ceiling that's above me today, probably in your wall somewhere in your house. And you can make it out of plants rather than wood, which wood takes 20 years to get the same amount of fiber as it takes, 6 months for Kenaf. So just really good for the environment. Has a lot of carbon drawdown. Um,
Is it still being used then?
it's still being used over the world.
Hmm.
Not very common, I would say.
That's a shame,
Yeah.
considering how it saves that, and kind of kind of reminds me of bamboo a little bit, and it's got starts getting very popular in home building and stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely a lot of similarities there. I think we got to change, our what we use, our materials. It's so important and drives so much change across the board, right? Like,
100%,
yeah.
100%. Yell it loud and get on the corner with the twirly sign and start telling everybody. We kind of founded our firm on the premise that leaders in organizations can always do better when they're doing good at the same time. Um, can you share a little bit about how the entrepreneurial experiences, the ones even from college on, that you had and your current efforts, especially with Whatrr, you know, um, how is making an economic and social impact at the same time? Starting with how was Whatrr even born, and what is your model to make an economic and social impact?
Yeah. I think it's let's start with if I'm going to make a change in the world, if you're going to make a change in the world, I think we have to make it cost competitive. I think it's got to be have the same, if not better, features. And those are the two cornerstones of making any product wildly successful in the eco realm. Because, you know, there are the people who shop at Erewhon and are spending an extra $10, $15, or 30, 50% um, to make something eco-friendly organic, but that's a small portion of the population. I think real change is going to be driven by, the mass markets of the United States, the world in general. And so we have to get products that make even more sense than what's traditionally being used. Uh, for water, that means bringing the cost down of the bottle. I used to sell it for $4, and it's still selling for $4 for a 16 ounce at Erewhon. But actually, I'm coming out with a version 2 that's going to be, pretty much cost competitive with regular 16-ounce bullet bottles of plastic. The only difference is my bottle will biodegrade in about 7 years, while plastic will take 700. And in 7 years, actually, most modern landfills are able to convert the gas that's off put by that bottle biodegrading into energy. So they're going to be able to convert it into energy. I might be using my laptop in 7 years and have a flash of electricity from a bottle that I drink today, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Um, so in terms of water, I'm bringing the price down a lot to be cost competitive all over the U.S. Aligning my manufacturing and things like that to do so. It's important. I don't think the environment is a mission just for any one class of people. It's for everyone. I think everyone can care about it.
Yeah, no, that's a great way of describing it. Are you going to keep adding R's for each version that you improve? Because you got to tell
Maybe,
people how water's spelled. You got to tell
yeah,
them.
yeah. Water is spelled Whatrr, and if you can roll your R's, you can say it for as long as you want.
I can do
Um,
that. Water, like that.
yeah, exactly, exactly. In London, they say water like
Okay.
that.
So did you purposely, obviously I get the connection to water, but you could say, what are you doing? Or how did that name hold?
Yeah, yeah. We have agency to restore and re-inspire. Um, it's that the consumer has the power. That's what water stands for.
Well, I mean, that's what I wanted you to tell everybody. So
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah.
Um, um, the fourth industrial revolution has been said to be about technology. Um, VR, AR, all that stuff, but AI is basically taken over
Oh yeah.
and going like at faster than the speed of sound, type of speed. But they also say the fifth is about humanity. How does water capitalize on tech and talent, for that matter, for you to have sustainable, or as someone told me, enduring success?
Mhm. Yeah, you know, water myself, along with um, many other companies and people dedicated to helping the environment, is going to become increasingly popular, uh, which is great for business. But it's also because we're starting to realize that we can't really continue treating the earth in such a manner. There needs to be changes in our lives, in our businesses, in our practices. I think that a mission like impacting the planet, impacting other people, is always going to be a um, much more of a cause that people will want to follow and join on and have and bring the highest levels of talent to solve these critical issues for our planet, for our species, really,
Hmm.
more than anything else, because the earth can recover itself very, very well. um, but it's really for our own species and our own benefit of taking care of the thing that's giving us so much life, right? It makes us joyful and peaceful, and we get to experience creation, with a clean beach and a clean river and a clean mountain. That's uh,
100%.
yeah, that's an exciting vision where we get to take care of our home planet. Um, I find that a lot of people, are willing to help me out as an entrepreneur with not a huge extensive track record of decades of experience, but they're willing to help me out and take my call because I'm putting my life and my energies and my dedication into, making the planet a better place.
No, and
And
I obviously love that. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to be a little cute on here, but what are you doing that differentiates water from
yeah,
others?
yeah, we have and and for that there's a specific problem that we're solving, very, very, very simple. It's that most bottles, 90% of bottles, end up in the landfill. Um, we're using these bottles, they're not being recycled. Recycling, I think 5 or 7% of all bottles have ever been recycled. Definitely not, what we've been told. Actually, the General of California recently sued ExxonMobil for deceiving the public on the recyclability of plastics. That blue bin oftentimes isn't recycled. Oftentimes, companies and corporations will just bundle the same bags in the same box, throw them into the landfill, right? So the landfill is where we can innovate. So 90% of bottles are going there. The key then for sustainability is making a bottle that biodegrades, that doesn't become um, microplastics, that doesn't pollute like aluminum and leach toxic chemicals, that doesn't become, pieces of shards of glass or whatever the lining on cartons is, because cartons are actually made with plastic and aluminum as well.
Hmm.
So the the bottles that we put in the landfill, we can help the landfill and be respectful to the landfill with a biodegradable bottle that breaks down. And you know to even go one step further, our bottles will become energy being collected by modern landfills. So water solves that problem of feeling guilty of buying a single-use plastic that is going to stick around for 800 years, 700 years. Now it's a guilt-free hydration that you can buy at the grocery store and think, okay, I don't have to feel bad about my need for water as a human, and being able to throw this in the trash can. Don't throw it on the ground, obviously, but throw it in the trash can and think that you're doing something good for the planet, because you are, and you're making a change, and you're the consumer now has agency to pick that. That's what water solves. That's what water does.
No, I love it. Is there a place people can find it now or coming?
Yeah, it's in Erewhon right now. In LA, it's in about 30 other grocers and cafes in LA. And the new version of the bottle is coming at the beginning of next year. And it's whatrr.com,
Awesome. And
water.com.
so if you buy 100 bottles, do you get first crack at the next version?
I would say so. We're actually out of our version one, so we sold out. They're only in stores. What's left of the supply. So I would say maybe if someone can send me their longest video of them saying water, the winner of that will get 100 bottles.
Or you could do 5 winners at 20 bottles.
Mark, for you, I'll do 5 at 20. One at 100.
There you go. Okay, more people involved. So you heard
Yeah.
it here. This is where you can get it, and then
Yeah.
the new and improved version is going to be coming out. I have one more question that I love asking people, because we want to always leave room for a sequel, so we'll leave them wanting a little bit more. We'll announce who wins the bottle wine contest. A client told me in 2021, after the 2020 pandemic here, he said to me, the year 2020 was the year that flew by slowly.
Mhm.
And that stuck with me, because for a lot of us right now, it seems like COVID was yesterday and also years ago, all at the same time. And now we're at the end of 2024 already. So what are you most grateful for, and what are you most hopeful for?
I'm grateful for my mentors in my life, uh, that have influenced me, impacted me, that support me. I think I have a lot of friends and family on this journey of water who you know give me exciting pats on the back or words of encouragement to think like, wow, actually, I can make a difference, and I can continue to take on, this huge problem, because entrepreneurship is tough and it's
Yeah.
hard. Um, and I'm really grateful for the support I get from friends and family. Uh, People who will be next to me during a cold call session and say, "Hey, it's not that bad, Yeah, he said this and that, but whatever. We'll call him back. We'll get him back."
Actually,
You
not
know.
whatever, whatever, ever.
Well, yeah.
And what are you most hopeful for?
I'm hopeful for the transition of a conscious consumer. I think the conscious consumer is growing in power. Um, Easily seen by the rise of something like plant milk in grocery stores, which was never going to happen 30 years ago, but now dominates 27% of the shelf,
Yeah.
at most grocers. 27 or more. Um, I think the conscious consumer is really, really coming, and I can't wait for them to be like, wow, what products can we buy to make a difference in our world, and how can I pick and choose what I'm using in my day-to-day life? Because everything matters. Everything really matters.
Yeah, well said. Well, I'm grateful for a new friend, and I'm grateful for that you are a leader who cares deeply, which is we need more of that, and I think that's what I'm hopeful for at the same time. So I love what are you doing, and let's keep tabs on it and help any way we
Yeah.
can. So thanks for joining the series.
Thank you, Mark. This has been awesome and fun, and I appreciate your jokes. Yeah.
Tell my kids. Thanks.